Everyone, welcome to another edition of the Final Down NFL podcast with me, Jim, Finn, Denver Dave. We're talking about NFL and boys. Happy New Year. How are we doing?
Happiest of New Year's.
You all right, Dave?
I was trying to think of something clever to say, but nothing came to me. So yeah, Happy New Year.
What a surprise. New Year, same day.
Yeah.
No punk around for this podcast. We're going to be doing a review of week 17 before leading into, obviously, week 18 in the next pod. But yeah, we've got 16 games to go through, and there were some good games and some horrific games. We'll cover them all in some way anyway. We normally start with the first game of the weekend. It's not going to be any different this time. And it was on Christmas Day, and it was the Chiefs against my Steelers. I knew Santa was a wrong one, as he served up back-to-back crushing games for my Steelers. First in Pittsburgh to have the one-loss Chiefs visiting with the number one seed on the line still. I was ready to lay into the team after looking at the score, but the Steelers didn't play terribly. Russ looked more Peyton Manning than Lamar Jackson as he got a rushing touchdown, but no passing one for only the second time this season. While there were good runs from Harris and Warren, but the defense has continued to let things through. And this time it was yet again Travis Kelce that seems to have a predator cloaking device in our secondary, as he had 8 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown, breaking Tony Gonzalez's record for franchise scoring receptions. The Steelers were technically in the game until the fourth quarter when Freiermuth fumbled. After that, the Chiefs moved the ball down the field and put the game to bed. Steelers defenders were seeming to single out someone in the roster for a lack of effort. We'll find out who that is soon enough, I guess. The final score was the Chiefs 29, Steelers 10.
When you said Russell Wilson resembled Peyton Manning, do you mean the 2016 Peyton Manning who couldn't throw the ball and couldn't move the ball down? Is that the one that you're talking about?
No, I meant his rushing touchdown. You know that touchdown that Manning scored where he tricked out the entire Cowboys defense.
I'm going to be honest. Finn, it's over to you. I don't watch this game. I watch Wallace and Gromit instead. Sorry, man.
I mean, it's just thing is with these Chiefs, and we've said it so often, is they just find ways. I mean, this was the first game I really felt that Travis Kelce turned up, and in some fashion. The rest of the season, he's just sort of been there or thereabouts, but not actually done anything. And it just so happens it coincides with the week I took him out of fantasy when it mattered the most. But hey,
he's always done that against us, though. Must be licking his chops about coming to Pittsburgh because we never target him, we never cover him.
He just runs, he runs wild. And and that was it. I think that was their key, is just get Kelce into the game. You couldn't handle it. Defense was just letting anything happen. You weren't able to shut Mahomes down. You weren't able to slow the offense, which is weird because as much as I don't like giving you credit and praise, on the whole, Steelers defense does turn up in a lot of weeks. But against the Chiefs, you may as well have just not turned up at all.
Yeah, it's not been great. I mean, 27 points to the Eagles, 34 to the Ravens, now 29 to the Chiefs. The defense has not been good enough.
I haven't seen this game, so I'm not. I mean, I'm only looking at stats.
Sure.
And the Chiefs had less time in possession, almost 100 yards of penalties, punted more times than the Steelers, had considerably less plays than the Steelers, which you'd expect to in time of possession, but they're only 3 minutes down in time of possession, but sort of 15 fewer plays. It just seems a bit weird. Third down efficiency is 30%. Fewer first downs, only 69 rushing yards. If I didn't know the score, I'd swear that the Steelers won this game. But then when you actually look at the score, Kansas won it by 19. Feels weird.
That's what the Chiefs do, though.
Wide. Yeah, it's true. Not so often this season. Not to win normally by 19. It's normally winning by, stupid stuff like a blocked field goal or something.
Yeah, within a score, or the refs basically just stop the game.
What was the reffing like in this game, Jim?
I mean, it was okay. Like you said, it was over 100 yards of penalties for the Chiefs. So, it was. I was just more watching it going, he's targeting our weakest cornerbacks. Obviously, Joey Porter Jr. wasn't there. He's back this week coming for the final game. So that's going to be really important. But we needed Corey Trice out there as well. We just didn't have him either. So Mahomes seemed to be targeting Patrick Queen, who wasn't really guarding Travis Kelce, and then Dante Jackson and James Pierre, who aren't quite good enough to
James Pierre. I don't know who played for you. He's rubbish.
Yeah, he's our lowest down corner. Anytime he was on the field, Mahomes knew about it. Right, so he knew exactly where 100%. to go. But yeah, there we go. It's just what it is. Let's move on to Baltimore, Houston. And this game got split open thanks to a dumb call by Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slovic to go to a touchdown on 4th and goal rather than take the points down by 8 and with half the second quarter to go. I know it can be frustrating, but you have to take points every drive you can against the Ravens. The 4th down pick of Joe Mixon didn't work out, and Christian Harris got embarrassed by Mark Andrews for a 67-yard gain. Then I think it was him that failed to double harass Lamar on a 2nd and 6 to allow a touchdown to Isaiah Likely. It put the Ravens up by 15 and the game was done. Great to see a safety on Derrick Henry, but to have those on be the only points you score is tough to witness for the home fans. Final score was the Ravens 31, Texans 2.
I didn't watch this. I was watching Gavin and
Oh,
Stacey.
for God's sake. That's not right. I'll forgive Wallace and Gromit, but Gavin and Stacey,
It was a finale.
Get out.
I've been waiting years for
Yeah,
it.
you tell
Listen,
me you didn't watch
written on
it.
the back of a
Jim.
fag packet, mate.
I would have watched the highlights had the score not been 31-2. I'm just not interested in watching it. I've literally seen nothing of this game. So yeah, I can't contribute to this, I'm afraid.
All right,
Sorry.
Finn, can you help me out here?
I can help. I can definitely help you out.
I'll tell you what
Hey!
happened to Gavin and Stacey if you want. If you
I don't
want
want
to
to know. I'd rather eat my than watch James Corden.
Wow, that's. I
I
feel like
feel
we
it.
could go down so many rabbit holes.
I
Drawing the
feel a
line
new
here.
bet coming on. I feel a new bet. Could have James Corden
What's
watch
that,
instead of
brothers?
Ashton Genty watch.
Come on, Finn. Come on. Let's get back to the pod.
Sorry. I mean, this was just so. It was weird because whilst the score makes the Ravens look like they were head and shoulders above the Texans, which in a lot of ways they were,
Yeah.
the Texans weren't completely out of it for a lot of the game. It was only
Mm.
in the back end. I mean, Stroud just couldn't get going. The offense just, for whatever reason, it just wasn't. I don't know whether I don't. I couldn't tell you why. It just looked very disjointed.
They were
Um,
4 for 15 on 3rd downs. They were 0 for 2 on 4th downs. I mean, you just couldn't get the first down conversion on the bloody
they just-
Ravens.
yeah,
Drives were dying. Left, right, and center. It
And
was crazy.
and then you use the drive, turn the ball over, and then, I mean, what else do you expect when it's Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson? You're gonna then be facing points going against you,
Yeah.
and that's when you need then Stroud and your offense to step up and start making things happen, and at least keep the defense off the field, keep yourselves in it by scoring points because you know that the Ravens are going to keep putting up points. So they're only really stayed in the game because the Ravens yet hadn't got a firm grip of the game, and once they did, the Ravens never looked like they were going to lose the game.
We all had the Ravens to win this one. And the fact it was so easy, it meant that they could just lean on Derrick Henry, who ended with 165 scrimmage yards. Lamar had only 10 completions for 168 yards. Doesn't help his MVP case, but they didn't need to use him. They just like, okay, we'll take whatever you give us. And the Texans were getting quite tired, obviously, because the defense been on the field so much and the offense not staying out there. It became inevitable. And then Josh Johnson was allowed to see out the game for the Ravens. You're in trouble when Josh Johnson's allowed to come in against you.
Well, this thing, it was in that sense, it was a good game for the Ravens because they were able to play on paper a decent side, but they didn't really have to break into second gear.
It's a playoff team. They're technically a playoff team, these Texans. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. And then they didn't have to get out of second gear.
Yeah.
And they can just go, right, we can start resting some players. Let's not try and overexert ourselves because we know that we've got this game sewn up.
Yeah.
If I do what I did in the last game and just look purely at the stats, it actually looks like the Texans got absolutely tonked. So nothing really changes here. But a good team on paper, not playing well and getting tonked. Maybe we should call them the Houston Hotspur from now on because,
I can get on board with this.
Yeah, as a gooner, I bet you can.
Let's move on. This game was pretty one-sided.
Sorry, Jim.
Let's go.
I couldn't help you
Sorry,
with that
just
one.
quickly, what did you make of the coats that Netflix made for the MVPs? Did you see that?
Nope.
I don't think I saw them.
Oh, they were like these.
Oh, those
massive,
red Santa things.
like yeah.
Oh, I
Load of
saw those.
Yeah, rubbish.
Yeah. I need to get myself one, I reckon.
Oh, give over. Please don't. Mind you, if you walk around with that bloody haircut all day, it's not going to be embarrassed wearing a big coat, is it? So
Dave, you can't talk about haircuts, mate.
I know,
You
right?
literally
Oh.
can't. Your hair owns you.
Mine's not a haircut, it's just some hair.
It's the hostage situation. Let's
If you can't
move
be
on.
mean at New Year, when can you be mean, eh?
Goes you mean to go
Supposed
on.
to be a new
Yeah,
resolution, Dave.
exactly.
Be a nicer Dave.
No, you don't want to know
Um,
my resolution, son.
no. Let's move on to the Chargers at the Patriots. And the Patriots got walloped by the Chargers in Foxborough. Drake May also got walloped by fellow rookie Cam Hart on the Patriots' opening drive. He came back into the game 2 drives later, down 10, but managed to botch a pitch back onto an end around that was snapped up by Derwin James, and the Chargers would score another touchdown off that mistake. Then the highlight for New England came on a Chargers mistake. Bud Dupree jumped the snap, and May had a free play to catch Demario Douglas on a 36-yard score. But the Chargers were relentless, allowing only 2 of 10 third down conversions and 0 of 3 on fourth down, while collecting 4 sacks and 7 tackles for loss. All 3 of Herbert's touchdown passes were immaculate, and the final score was the Chargers 40, Patriots 7.
Before I have a go at the Patriots, just want to say, well done, the Chargers. This was the least Chargerish performance I've ever seen. Come towards the end of the season, you need a win to guarantee you in the playoffs. Brandon Staley would have lost this game somehow. Don't know.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
they went in, handled business, done. Patriots, right. They couldn't move the ball. I don't think I've ever seen a game where one team has double the amount of time in possession than the other. It's 19 and a half minutes to 40 minutes time in possession.
Ridiculous.
It's astonishing. The Patriots were horrific. End of. And I genuinely do not see how you bring back Gerald Mayo. He's had absolutely no effect, and I feel so sorry for Drake May. I'm on the side of all rookies. I think all rookie quarterbacks. I think they should be given every piece of help. That offensive line is diabolical. I think they should guarantee the first overall pick, sell it to a ransom for whichever morons want to come up and pay a huge amount for them, and then do nothing but pick. Yeah, just pick nothing but linemen, defensive and offensive linemen. In the trenches, in the scrums, they are an embarrassment. They are so bad. Just pick nothing but huge, great big guys. And if you pick anyone from Chattanooga, you're fired. Just pick actual good players. You have to shore yourself up because they're just an easy team to play against. And when you're bad in the trenches and you come up against a Harbaugh team, you're going to get murdered. And that's what happened.
Anything to add, Finn?
No, this was a team that needed to win, and a better team beating a very, very bad side. And Chargers have just gone, they've had a slow start to the season, but they've gone from strength to strength as they start to understand the system and new schemes. And yeah, this game just proved that all the sort of hard work's paying off.
Absolutely.
Bring in Mike Vrabel because it needs a culture change there.
Well, we did talk last week about whether the Patriots were loyal to their coaches, and obviously they had their kind of Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger type in there. But other than that, they're not known for holding on to coaches very long. So I'd be surprised if they kept hold of Mayo after this year. It's been an absolute disaster.
You can't do, surely.
Horror show.
No, I thought so. Then we've got the Broncos at the Bengals. If you know anything about the Bengals this season, it's that they will give you opportunities to win the game against them. Few teams are given as many, though, as the Broncos were on Saturday night. 2 turnovers on downs inside the red zone, and both times the Broncos punt on the following drive. T. Higgins fumbles the ball with the game tied. Bo Nix throws a pick on the following drive. The Bengals decide to QB sneak a touchdown rather than make the Broncos burn their final timeout and give them over a minute to move down the field, and the refs to allow a wobbly catch by Marvin Mims to force overtime. Punk co-signs that opinion. Cade York manages to doink a 33-yard field goal, but the Broncos can't get a first down for the second time, and Burrow launches to T. Higgins to get his 3rd touchdown of the game. Burrow to go over 400 passing yards for the 2nd time this season, and his 8th game in a row, throwing at least 3 touchdowns. But the Broncos should have won this several times. Final score after overtime was the Broncos 24, Bengals 30.
I agree. The Broncos.
Did you watch this game, Dave?
Yeah. I agree. The Broncos should have won this game.
You're watching Songs of Praise or something?
No. That was finished by then. I got that on Series Link. Don't worry about that. No, the issue with this, Punk mentioned previously that the Broncos were basically playing to tie this game. Nothing could be further from the truth. So we had the chance to go for 2 points at the end of the game.
Bo was asking for it.
Yeah, he was asking for it, didn't go for it, which I think is right. I think in hindsight, it's the right thing to do because our defense can stop their offense. Well, we did. In overtime, we stopped their offense. They punted the ball, gave it back to us. We've done exactly what we thought we could do. The offense just couldn't move it down the field. And again, it's having a rookie quarterback. It's the first time he's been into overtime in his NFL career. And I don't want to say it, but the Bengals on defense played well in patches. But no, we should have won the game. I agree that the ball was wobbly, but hey, who cares?
Yeah.
We've had a few before where you're like, absolutely, that's a catch, and they've said no catch, and you think, so we got one back, so I
We
don't
got
mind
one
that.
back.
Yeah, we got one back. But no, I think we played pretty well. Jamar Chase got droppy again. I was having a conversation with someone the other day about this, and he was saying Jamar Chase just doesn't drop the ball. I'm like, you're on drugs. When he was at Louisiana, that's all he did. I think he had one of the highest drop rates in his team. So yeah, the Bengals will be hoping he clears that up. But the Broncos were very fortunate at times with some of the bad plays that the Bengals were making. But listen, the Bengals have done that all season.
Yeah.
They're just a machine of mistakes. And I think
I
it's
highlighted them in the review.
but it's all season though. It's not just that game. It's all season long.
It's what they do. They allow teams into games and then they wait for a moment of magic.
Yeah.
That always comes from Burrow. And he does enough to win the game. But most games they play, they shouldn't be able to win them.
Yeah.
Or be close to winning them.
But to miss out on the playoffs when you've got Joe Burrow,
And Jamar Chase.
that's rough.
And T. Higgins.
Well,
You won't have
T.
you won't
Higgins
have all of
next
them next
season.
year.
They've got
No.
some pieces.
Well, T. Higgins is going to be gone. There's no way they can keep it. He's franchise tagged this year. I'm surprised he's playing, to be perfect. He's still get 50 million quid. But I think they'll have a new head coach next year. I think that
If they make the playoffs.
No.
They'll get rid of Zach
I
Taylor.
don't think they'll make the playoffs this season. Even if they do, listen, the way they play, they're going to if they make the playoffs, they are playing Buffalo in Buffalo. They will
They've
get
beaten
with the
Buffalo
amount of
in
mistake.
Buffalo before.
The amount of mistake, yeah,
Good
but playoff
luck.
football's
In the
playoff
playoffs.
football's very different.
It was
the Broncos,
playoffs.
the Broncos,
They
have,
smacked them.
yeah. This is very different this year. It's a very different Buffalo team this year. It's a very different Cincinnati team this year. They will get tonked, and I think it's really, really difficult to make a case for head coach coming back. So no, I think the Bengals are a team that is in need of a bit of a sea change. But yeah, I mean, well done to them. They won in the circumstances they needed to. The Broncos are still a very, very young team, and a year ago, the Broncos would have got murdered in that game. They would have got absolutely murdered. So it does show some progression. But yeah, can I introduce the Call Your Jets? Bengals fans, calm down a bit. You're not that good. Broncos fans, it's not that bad. Chill out. It's fine. Don't worry.
I'm not going to talk about the MVP race, so I'm going to move on to the Colts at the Giants. And you fucking idiots. You had the number one seed
Don't bleep
completely
that.
in your control. Trot out Tommy DeVito, why don't you? Oh no, they played Drew Lock because what? You promised him competition? The whole front office needs firing after this. 45 points on the Colts defense that should have been trying harder. But Joe Flacco just inspires zero confidence, and the New York players seem determined to go out with a win or two, no matter the consequences. How did this happen? Well, Flacco got picked on the opening drive, then failed in the red zone on the next. The Colts missed a field goal on the third, and if it wasn't for Jonathan Taylor's touchdown before halftime, the Colts would have been down 21-6 at the half. It went a bit crazy on scoring in the second half, but the game was secured with a sack fumble of Flacco with 2 minutes to go. The final score was the Colts 33, Giants 45.
You call yourself a podcaster. You should be arrested under the Trade Descriptions Act for that, for not mentioning 2 words, the only 2 words that matter in this game. Malik
Teeing you up.
mother effing neighbors. That's what happens. He was utterly, utterly incredible. Anytime the
good.
Giants needed anything, he was Johnny on the spot. Unbelievable. I mean, I'm a massive fan of his anyway. Coming into it, I would say that he's the number one receiver coming into this. I think that's been proven now that he's probably the number one receiver. So
He
good.
does bail them out.
Yeah.
And
And he's,
it goes
look
to
at
the
the
point.
missing as well,
look at the morons he's got throwing at him as
Well,
well.
this is
He's
the thing, you've got to
still
look at the
amazing.
team. And this is, we've said it all year long.
Yeah.
The Giants are a QB away from being more than
Average.
serviceable.
Well, you say that next season, they've actually got the hardest strength of schedule of home teams because everyone already knows what teams you're playing next season and do for the next couple of years. And yeah, their home schedule next season, bloody hell, it's a murderer's row who they're playing. So it's not going to be, it's not going to be
Won't that, of course, but
devastated.
yeah, Giants just didn't know how to read the script.
Crazy.
Neighbours didn't know how to read script, but you know, Giants at times looked good. Drew Lock had a decent game.
An all-time game. I think it was like the sixth best game ever for a quarterback. They were charting the stats on this EPA per play. It was years since someone's done what he did.
Yeah, but then he's Colts.
That Colts defense it's a funny one, that Colts defense. Sometimes it looks good, sometimes it looks terrible.
Yeah, it's either there or it's not.
Drew Lock did have an amazing game in his his rookie year, his first year for us, where against the Texans, and looked utterly incredible. And then a couple of weeks later looks absolutely diabolical. I think that's just what you get from him.
Very flip-floppy.
They need to learn.
Yeah.
They need time. Is a Sam Darnold type, just give him some time. Some of these guys most of them will come good.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, he's got to find the right system though, and the right place.
Give him another 5 or 6 years.
He's not going to be a starter here, is he?
System. No,
they don't want him to be the starter. Otherwise, he would have started ages ago. So he's got.
Well, I wish he hadn't started in this game.
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, that's probably their plan.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, to be honest. I think in the long run, it probably helps them. But we'll talk about that when we come to do draft stuff later on. But yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Well done, the Giants. That's the main thing. Well done. They've got something to cheer for.
Congratulations, you morons. Okay,
and
so
they got it at home, so fair play to them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's tough for them.
Let's do the Raiders at the Saints. And you fucking idiots. It was so obvious you were going to win this game. Only Dave and Finn believed that the Raiders organization would know what it was doing and take a knee on this season for half-decent draft pick. The Raiders don't have much luck with high draft picks, let alone ones where Tom Telesco has to get his notebook out. But that's the way it's heading, as the Raiders managed to ease away from the decimated Saints offense. Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker got receiving touchdowns from Aidan O'Connell. Amir Abdullah had 115 rushing yards, and rookie tight end Brock Bowers had 7 catches for 77 yards, giving him 108 receptions for 1,144 yards this season, eclipsing Mike Ditka's 1961 rookie tight end mark of 1,067 yards receiving, and Puka Nakua's 2023 mark of 105 catches by a rookie at any position.
He couldn't score a touchdown though, could he? Because he's rubbish.
He couldn't. Powers also surpassed Darren Waller's franchise mark of 107 receptions in the season, which has stood since 2020. Saints got a touchdown from Rattler to Moreau, but it was always uphill sledding when you have a 1 of 10 third down conversions. Final score was the Raiders 25, Saints 10.
Yeah, Aidan O'Connell versus Spanky Rattler. It's not a game I can get behind, to be honest. No, I mean Raiders actually played quite well in this game. They played hard ball. It's what we said a couple of weeks ago. The guys in there actually do play. They're just not uber talented.
Yeah, that's what they're trying. They've been trying.
They do try, and they go in and they play with energy. They play with. They get behind it. It's not like they're going out and trying to tank from day one. They do give it their all. They're just subpar players, particularly when you're coming up against the very best on offensive weapons. Not in this game, obviously, but in other games throughout the year, it's always going to be an uphill battle. And like you said, in this one, Jim, the Saints just have nothing on offense at the moment. They just weren't able to do anything or get anything going.
They got Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Not sure they do.
Case and point.
Yeah, game, set, and match. Let's move on to the Titans at the Jags. The Jags might be the most infuriating team in the league, and that's a high bar to clear. Your franchise quarterback is done for the season. You're facing a division rival with one more win than you, and you just have to lose out for a top 3 pick. So, of course, they get a win here. Mac Jones was completing 68% of his passes, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a rating of 122. Just what the organization didn't need. Another touchdown for rookie Brian Thomas Jr., which makes 10 now for the season. Parker Washington got the other as Jacksonville were able to take control of Tennessee throughout. The final score was the Titans 13, Jags 20.
Tennessee have fallen into the second spot. It's like when you're out
Yeah.
with a good-looking mate at a nightclub and he starts chatting up a bird, you naturally just start speaking to that girl's friends, and all of a sudden you find a wife that's way hotter than you. That's basically what's happened to the Titans.
They
They
might get
just
the
sort of
first pick. Who
The
knows?
only analogy you'll ever need.
there you go. It's just honestly, I don't think the Titans are that bad. Like, really, don't think they're that bad. But they're picking second.
Yeah.
It's
The
incredible.
same record as the Patriots as well.
It is
So,
mental.
Yeah.
And they're an infinitely better team than the Patriots, by the way. But what are you going to do?
We've got a lot
Yeah.
more.
Well, this is going to sound weird. Well done, Tennessee.
they feel very Raiderish this season. There's no real direction from the coaching and no idea of who the actual quarterback is going to be.
Yeah.
They've tried Levis, they've tried Mason Rudolph.
Mm.
You know, they've tried everyone, but
The
There's
thing
a
is,
lot of
I think
uncertainty.
from a cap perspective, I think they're all right. So if I'm them, I sell my top draft pick to again whichever idiot wants to come up. Do it on draft night as well when people are desperate. Go and get someone in free agency. Go and get a quarterback who's going to be knocking on the market because I think they can afford it, and I think they've got talent there. Where for early in the second round, just go and get wide receivers who you think are going to be dangerous. There's no one at the top of this draft that I can see from a quarterback perspective that's going to revolutionize your franchise. So yeah,
Aaron
go and get
Rodgers,
go and get someone in free agency.
Go on, Tennessee, do it.
he's
Don't do
available.
it. Don't do it. Go and get Daniel Jones rather than doing Aaron Rodgers. Jesus.
Let's get on to some paddlings, boys.
Oh, it's a few of these, eh?
Yeah, we're going to start with the Jets at the Bills. And Aaron Rodgers was hoping this would be the game that he collected his 500th career passing touchdown. Instead, he broke the record for most sacked quarterback ever. I think second is Caleb Williams. There were more records being broken as Buffalo set a franchise single-season point-scoring record of 509 and touchdowns with 63. Josh Allen threw 2 touchdown passes and ran for another score to become the NFL's first player to score 40 touchdowns in 5 consecutive seasons. Another funny bit about this game is that the Jets' 2 touchdowns came after Rodgers had been pulled from the game. Tyrod Taylor finding Garrett Wilson and Tyler Conklin to stop the shutout. Of course, the Jets are shut out of the playoffs for the 14th season in a row. Oof. Final score was the Jets 14, Bills 40.
It's a paddling.
Did you see the salty interview that Rodgers gave afterwards?
Could have been any week.
Well, this is one of the few that I've seen. I don't normally watch them. But yeah, someone said the question was something like, it's now 14 years in a row that they've missed the playoffs. And then Rodgers went, "What's your question?" He said, "Well, it's really difficult to do. What's your thoughts on it?" Well, I've only been here for one. I've only really played for one, so it's not really my problem. It's like, come on, you utter douche. Just be like, yeah,
Worse
we're going to
record
try
than
our
last
hardest
year.
next season.
Yeah, it's only really been 2 years for me, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Moved
only
them
played for
backwards,
one.
I mean, so there's no Punk this week.
No.
And there's a feature that I'm doing instead, which is good, bad, and ridiculous. Jets might make an appearance.
Oh, I wonder what for.
Yeah.
Thing is with this as well, though, is, I mean, Jets, Rodgers couldn't get anything going on offense. But they weren't really out of the game until the third.
Yeah.
And then Buffalo scored like 3 in 5 minutes. And then at that point, it was just game, set, match.
Yeah.
The thing what really did me was I was watching Red Zone as the results were coming in, and because the Eagles, sorry for the spoiler coming up, the Eagles did pretty well against the Cowboys, but they were playing in their alternate jersey. So there's a couple of times I thought it was the Jets, and I was like, "Ooh, Jets are looking." No, it's Eagles. That's the best thing that happened to the Eagles this week. To the Jets this week. They got confused with the Eagles. That's the best thing that happened for them this week because they were diabolical.
It's a real shame that. Let's move on to the next one, the Dallas Cowboys at the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not sure why Joe Jones put him through a trip to Philadelphia this season. His boys have been tough to watch at the best of times, and the Philly crowd were very happy to remind him of that fact. 7 plays into the game, and CJ Gardner-Johnson's returning a pick for 6 points. Though Cooper Rush was trying his best, this is one of the best defenses in the league, and they turned the screws yet again, closing on passes with speed across the secondary and a front 7 that was giving the Cowboys O-line fits. While the receivers were getting the scores of Devonta Smith with 2 and A.J. Brown with 1, it was Saquon Barkley that everyone was paying attention to as he cleared 2,000 rushing yards and was in sight of Eric Dickerson's record, though news is he'll be fully rested this weekend. The final score was the Cowboys 7, Eagles 41.
That's a bad one.
Yeah, which is the smart move to make, isn't it? I'd want if I'm an Eagles fan, half of me would want him to play for the record, but ultimately it doesn't matter.
It's
What
tough to
matters is
get.
what you
It's like
do.
178 yards away. It's
No,
going
it's
to be
100 yards. Bang on 100 yards.
it's a lot to do though.
Well, he's shown it.
Yeah.
But
If
yeah,
do it,
at this point, it's about the team, isn't it? And you'd
Yeah.
rather
I'd
you'd
rather
rather
just help
protect
people
him
else.
and have him
next
moving
week is
forward.
against the Giants, and do it against your old team, give them the
twist
middle
the knife.
finger. Yeah.
It would be awesome if you did it in the first half.
Would be quite a way to do it, wouldn't it? But
Or if he just does it on like opening play, just take the opening play, just take a sack,
70
take a 29-yard sack, and then just run it in all the way, and then just off he runs into the change room. No, I think this was a route for the Eagles. It was easy. It wasn't
very
difficult.
easy.
Cowboys
Kenny
have
Pickett
released
as well.
Yeah, Cowboys have released Zeke. He's now gone, so it's the end of an era for them. It
Again.
feels like it'll probably be back next season. Might be the head coach next season. It just feels like a bit of an end of an era for the Cowboys, because they're going to have to change an awful lot. I think there'll be a new head coach next season. I think there's going to be a lot of new players, because they're going to have to get rid of, in order to bring in, in order to pay everyone the amount that they need to pay them with the large contracts they're paying to a very few group of players. They're going to need to bring in a lot of undrafted free agents. I hope they hit on a few. Basically, what the Rams have done this season. Saints probably going to have to do the same as well. It's a bit of a sea change for the Cowboys. So yeah, they're at a junction, and what they do in the next 3 months, maybe 4 months, is probably going to decide the next 5 years for them. In all honesty,
No pressure. Not Jerry Jones.
Yeah, get it right.
Let's go on then to the final paddling, and that was the Panthers at the Bucks. You can tell that there were a lot of Bucks with incentive bonuses on the line in this game. Baker Mayfield went off with 5 passing touchdowns. He gets an extra 500,000 if he finishes top 5 in passing. Bucky Irving had over 100 scrimmage yards for the 5th time this season. Mike Evans got 2 touchdowns. Just one netted him an extra $1 million on his yearly earnings. The Panthers weren't terrible. Adam Thielen got over 100 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, but the Bucks were playing for the division. The Panthers are just playing for pride. I'd love to talk about the Bucks punt, block, scoop, and score, but the broadcast camera was focused on the duck on the field, so we just have to ignore that. The final score was the Panthers 14, Buccaneers 48.
Oh, you better believe that's a bad one.
And all those Buccaneers players are heroes for taking money out the Glazers' pockets.
Absolutely.
Because why not?
Yeah. Keep it coming.
It was men against boys, wasn't
it?
Yeah,
they were definitely
just a little bit.
They were definitely on one this game.
Yeah, there was a lot of the extra few percent for whatever reason,
I think it was double-digit percent.
Yeah.
The thing is, when you come out of a divisional game having only ran the ball for 39 yards against a team who are significantly more talented than you, it's not a recipe for success. This, for Carolina, if they ever release a DVD of this game, it should just be called 3 and Out, because that's literally all they did. And by the second half, their defense was gassed. I think Tampa took their foot off the pedal a little bit in the fourth quarter, if I'm honest.
I think JC Horn wasn't playing either.
Yeah,
doesn't help,
wouldn't you? Sure, you're up by that much.
JC Horn, by the way, has turned into an absolute stud corner. When he came out of college, he was a bit handsy. But
you weren't his biggest fan. I told you.
He's only because of handing. Only because of handing that. He was really, really handsy in terms of holding.
Yeah.
And he's cleaned up his game. I think some of that has been purely down to the fact he was injured for a while. Is he had to sort of study the game, and you get time out, and we see a lot of that with defensive backs especially. But he's turned into I'm not sure he's a top 5 corner, but he's good. He's a good, solid player.
Yeah. Let's move on then to the Cardinals at the Rams. Cardinals put in another one of their head-scratchingly bad performances in this one. The one time in the first half they were driving for a score, and they turn it over on 4th and 1. The Rams get a rushing score by Kyren Williams and a field goal from Josh Carty to make it a tough ask for Arizona in the second half. Then they go and get a score on their opening drive. Trey McBride finally gets a touchdown after being the bridesmaid all year. The extra point was blocked, so the Chad Ryland field goal on the next drive meant they still weren't tied. Then we get 2 picks for Kyler. The first one might be classed as an arm punt if it was Josh Allen. The second was a bit dodgy, whether Akilla Witherspoon didn't use too much of the ground to secure the pick. Either way, the game was over, and the Rams are still a game up on Seattle. Final score is the Cardinals 9, Rams 13.
That Trey
Cars
McBride
needed to do
pun.
us a favour.
Yeah, that Trey McBride pun is the worst one you've done this season, by the way.
Oh,
That's
brilliant.
that's a
No,
backhanded compliment
I was hoping we'd just sort of gloss over it, to be honest, Dave.
No,
But
no, you got to draw attention to that.
We'll
This was
see.
this
this
was
was Rams
two
just.
teams playing badly.
I don't know what it is with the Rams because since
I
they
told
put
you a
up
couple of weeks ago, and
40
you laughed at me. Good, bad, good, bad, good, bad.
That's Cardinals. You
right.
said that.
Those cards you
Might
said that.
might
You
have
said
been the
that about
Cardinals, but it
Rams.
still works. They were still bad. I say it
The
about a few
I mean, the
teams.
Rams put up what? They went toe to toe against the Bills,
Fifth win in a row.
and then the other win. They played to the opponent. I think. And they
12-6, 19-9, 13-9 is their last 3 games.
So they've
last
not,
three
they've
wins,
not had
but
20 points in the last 3 games after
no, but they've won all of them.
Yeah, which is the most frustrating thing.
Yeah,
They put
Especially
44
this.
points, 44 points on the Bills, and in the following 3 games haven't even reached that combined. That's
This is what I mean.
astonishing.
It's like they just played. They do play down a little bit. And Cards, if the Cards had a sense of one of their good days, and there was moments of it. I mean, they couldn't handle McBride. But yeah, they just, for the love of God, why couldn't they put something together in this game? I don't care about the rest of the season. Just this game would have been nice.
Well, looking through their fixtures and to back up what I've said about them going good, bad. So just to prove there is a pattern, they go good, good, bad, 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 good, good, bad, 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 good, good, bad, bad, bad. There you go. So that's a pattern. It's a definite pattern.
Oh, it sounds like a great pattern. Yeah.
patterns
It's
all
more-
the time.
it's
That one.
more
Really
code.
scientific, that one, yeah.
Don't
I'm
listen
going
to
to move
me.
on.
Please do, I might cry.
Let's do the Dolphins at the Browns. This probably should have been in the paddlings, but the Dolphins didn't look entirely convincing in this win. Not surprising when we were watching Tyler Huntley versus Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Both teams were sloppy, but the Browns had a pick 6, a sack fumble, and 4 turnovers on downs in this one. Tyler Huntley ran in a 13-yard score, and Johnny Smith rocked up again in the 4th for a 6th touchdown in the last 7 games. Final score was the Dolphins 20, Browns 3.
This was
Dolphins really
my-
didn't look good.
This was my red zone donor game. Didn't watch it. I'm not watching Dorian Thompson-Robinson against Tyler Huntley. Give it a rest.
Bless him, he tried his
good
best,
reason.
but his best was not good enough.
Yeah, rubbish.
The thing is, we've got it was just Dolphins. Yes, they got the win. Yes, it was by 17 points. But let's be honest, they should have blown the Browns out the water and then
Mhm.
some. But they just, for whatever reason, it just looked flat. They were able to, push through and at key moments made things happen and obviously were effective in getting points on the board. But it never looked easy. It never looked comfortable for them. And it looked like if the Browns had a sense of a quarterback, then they would have sort of
I mean,
pushed
they're
them
on
a bit
third string now.
harder.
So, it's not really their fault. Well, it's definitely their
Well-
fault, but, they're down to the bare bones now. And
Yeah,
as
so
if-
then it backs up.
Watson being
Dolphins should have done a lot more than they did.
Well, no, absolutely. They've looked flat without Tua. It seems like the entire offense is geared around how Tua plays the game.
Well, it's
Although
no,
Tyler
because
Huntley is
the backups
similar.
they've got are rubbish. We've said
Well, I
this
don't mind
numerous
Tyler
times.
Huntley too
Yeah,
much,
but the thing is, if you take out, I agree, but if you've got the offensive weapons Miami have, you should still be able to move things relatively smoothly, even
Yeah,
if you're
better than you have.
Yeah,
Their key position is who's the backup because Tua is going to miss multiple games a
well, that's the
season,
thing.
and they need better than Tyler Huntley.
And they've got to do more with the backups because it can't just be set around. Obviously, when Tua's fit, then it's all working. But Tua's not going to play a full season, so you need someone to come in and just get things moving. There's enough pieces
Tua
on there.
processes the game much better pre-snap, and so the ball's out a lot quicker. He knows what he's doing with it, whereas most other quarterbacks have to wait a bit longer. He's very good at anticipating lanes being open, and there's a reason why he gets so many yards whenever he's on the field. Just needs to stay on the field.
Yep.
Well,
One
easier said
shocking
than
thing
done for
about
him.
this, game though, is Dante Foreman. He's played for 8 different teams. He's only 28. I feel like he should be 38. He's like, when someone said to you in the 90s, "Oh, Clarence Seedorf's only 25," and you're like, "What? He's been around forever." Yeah, Dante Foreman's only 28. It's truly shocking because I thought he'd retired.
It's about
That's
the
the
time
best
for a
thing
running
about
back.
this game as well. That's it.
Let's move on then. Let's do Green Bay at Minnesota. And I want to believe in the Minnesota Vikings. They were awesome for 3 quarters in this game, completely outplaying the division rival Packers. They started to ease away with touchdown passes to Jalen Naylor, Jordan Addison, and Cam Akers. Sam Darnold racked up 377 passing yards, but there were a couple of missed field goals in there. 157 yards is understandable, but the 43-yarder that seemed to spur Green Bay in back-to-back touchdowns to make it a 2-point game wasn't so great. The Vikings at least held on with the Packers burning their timeouts, but not stopping the game-ending first down. Final score was the Packers 25, Vikings 27.
No, I thought this was quite uncharacteristic from Mr. Love, because normally when he goes behind, he starts slinging the ball, and that's then when we see his hospital passes come in and he
Yeah,
gets picked off. And this game, he seemed to just be trying to play sensible and move the ball more efficiently and without trying those intermediate and sort of longer throws. The irony was he needed to do it at this time because the team were behind. So he doesn't quite know when to do it and when not to do it.
I think Matt LaFleur was hoping that Josh Jacobs would get him back into it, and he very good running back, and he was having success against the Vikings.
The thing is, the Vikings
understand why
defense
they let him back
is
in.
so versatile,
Mm.
and they adjust on the fly, and they'll always keep the offense guessing. And the offense has got to have a hell of a game to put up points against the Vikings. And they did a good job. They clawed themselves back into it. But I mean, Darnold just looks so composed at the moment and so locked in. He's finding Jefferson and Jefferson's making things happen and just doing what Jefferson does basically. And that at the moment is their winning recipe.
It's like Kirk Cousins never left.
Yeah. It's a good job they've not got a young pretender in the background ready to take his spot, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
This for me was a Dak Prescott special. Going into the fourth quarter, it was 27-10.
Mhm.
And then they got a bag full of garbage points that make your stats look good. And that's what Dak does. He's the king of the garbage time touchdown. I don't ever feel like the Vikings were ever going to lose this game. I know it was close on the scoreboard, but it always felt like whenever the Vikings needed something, they could. And Sam Darnold's like Chris Wood. He just scores when he wants.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Let's end the football analogies, please. And let's move on. Let's do the Atlanta Falcons at the Washington Commanders. It feels like we're running out of superlatives for Jayden Daniels and the rookie season he's had. Atlanta had their tails up after their win with Michael Penix last week, but the Commanders were ready and picked him off on the opening drive. After that, it became a bit of a tennis match, with both teams matching each other for scores and mistakes. There was even a 56-yard attempt to win the game for the Falcons, but Riley Patterson came up short. It forced overtime, and the Commanders went on a 12-play drive, ending with Zach Ertz picking up his second touchdown of the game. Talking of incentives, Ertz pocketed $750,000 for his receptions, yards, and touchdowns in this game. Nice. Final score after overtime was the Falcons 24, Commanders 30.
That's like me and my job. I think it's fair to say that Jayden Daniels, this is the cherry on top of the icing on top of the crown.
Mm-hmm.
Though why you put icing on a crown is somewhat beyond me.
Why not?
He's going to get Rookie of the Year as a quarterback. Whether it should go to Brock Bowers or not, I'll let Punk argue that one with you lot. But no, he had a bit of a dipper form in the middle of the season, whether it was down to injuries or whatever it was, I don't know.
The ribs, I think. Yeah.
But yeah, he's been excellent. There was one particular pass, I can't really give any details on it. It was one of his touchdown passes, and it was through such a tight window. It's like if the ball is yay big, that's how big the window was. The window's like literally the size of the ball, and it's the only place he could have put it. That's where it went, and it looked great. It's really nice to see though. And I don't think, by the way, and I'm going to come on to this in a minute, I don't think the Falcons actually lost this game. I'll come on to that in a second. It's really, really nice to see a rookie doing well in the NFL. It's going to be slim pickings next year because I'm not sure that's necessarily going to be the case. But I think most rookies have come out of the season with a little bit of good grace. And I think that's moving on to Atlanta. I think that's what's happened. Michael Penix has come in, looked really, really good. And for ages, we've been saying the Falcons are a good team. They've got good players. We don't understand why they're not playing. Well, Robinson had a good game, got 2 touchdowns, nearly 100 yards, and they actually gave him the ball. Drake London, over 100 yards. Michael Penix actually did really well. This is what we want to see.
Kyle Pitts.
No, Michael Penix did really well. I
Okay.
don't think Pitts had a particularly good game. I was going to say, where is the
Still
Yeti
targeting him. Still
of a
targeting him.
tight end that they don't seem to have?
He
Um,
definitely likes London, which is a good thing. Obviously,
Yeah, I
Falcons
mean,
fans want to
yeah.
see their prize pieces get targeted, and he's doing
yeah,
that.
and there was also, this is the funniest thing. There was a Atlanta fan that put a bet on Zacchaeus
Olamide Zacchaeus, yeah.
to
Oh yeah.
score a touchdown against his team because he said every wide receiver who played for us comes back and scores a touchdown. And there's a picture of him celebrating in a bar surrounded by other Falcons fans because he won like $5,000 or something like that. And I'm like, that $5,000 is going to be able to buy you some new teeth because you're about to get smashed in, lad.
He'll be all right. He'll be all right.
Yeah,
It was in
probably fine.
Washington anyway.
No, but he wasn't. He was in a bar in
Oh,
Atlanta.
you're on your own then. Yeah, 277 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and then 16 carries for 127 rushing yards on scrambles. And he just was always picking up first downs. It's just great to watch him move the ball down the field. You know, in the hindsight draft, you'd probably take him number 1.
Yeah, I agree.
I think so.
So
I do think we
yeah.
should do a Patreon redraft at some point as
we
well.
might do. We might do.
Oof,
Depends
ooh,
how
Nick's
much we
number
want to
2.
keep going.
Nick's number 2.
On the quarterback front, I don't think you can argue that. I don't think you can
No
argue it.
way.
He's easily the second best.
No. Let's
No
go on then.
chance.
Let's do Detroit at the 49ers. And
we
to
have
follow
to?
on last year's NFC Championship game, there were touchdowns on the first 5 drives. The Lions turned it over on downs in the red zone, and then Jake Moody missed a field goal to end the half. The touchdowns continued in the second, but Kirby Joseph was doing his best Nosferatu impression on Brock Purdy, picking him twice. To add injury to insult, Brian Branch sacked him on the next drive to take him out of the game with a knock to his throwing elbow. Nice to see Josh Dobbs coming in and getting himself a rushing touchdown on the 7-yard scramble. Jake Moody missed the extra point, meaning he cost the 49ers 7 points. The Lions win by 6. Final score was the Lions 40, 49ers 34.
2 things, by the way. That Josh Dobbs 7-yard touchdown, he had to run about 60 yards for it. So it wasn't really a 7-yard touchdown, if I'm honest. The second thing is they didn't lose that game because of their kicker. I mean, it wasn't good from Jake Moody, let's be honest. They didn't lose it because of him, because he was kicking from 47, 53, 55. If your kicker's having to constantly kick from that far out, I know he missed a PAT as well, but
He missed a PAT.
that doesn't back up my argument, so I'm going to somewhat,
Ignore
gloss
that.
over it, a little bit. But if you're constantly kicking from over 50, then that is not a good sign. That there's more problems than just your kicker there. Not over 50 constantly. You want to throw in a smattering of a 30-yarder in there, yeah, something like that. So no, I think it was difficult.
I'm going to string him up. I'm just saying, just stay.
And it's hard for him as well because he was drafted in the 3rd round, and you're always going to have a target on your back when that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not his fault.
It's not his fault, no. But yeah, the 49ers come out of nowhere to put up 34 points in this game. You know, is this because the Lions decimated, or just
that was the surprising thing in this, is that the
Niners
actually they showed glimpses of what we've known them to be in the past few seasons. They were able to move the ball. Yes, a lot of the time they were sending their kicker out from a mile away, but they were still able to put points up. And they were just sort of back to their sort of physical side. And yes, the Lions are decimated, but the Lions themselves are a very physical side. So it's almost, I wonder if the Niners went into this game going, we need to be, this has been a horror show of a season for our standards. This is a game where we're not expected to win, but we know the physicality of this is going to be huge. We want to show the fans and, the rest of the NFL world that we've not completely died. And maybe they just taught themselves into that extra step of physicality throughout the game. And they made things happen. The receivers were getting in. I mean, obviously they're decimated on offense as well. But it was a little too late for them,
isn't it? They do want to show out for the fans on the last home game of the season.
Yeah.
And the Lions probably just thought, we can get through this game. This isn't the threat that they used to be.
I think if you have, this would have been a very different score had the Lions had their full roster available, particularly on defense. I think Niners would have struggled to get any points on the board.
If every team had every player fit, I think the Lions absolutely decimate the 49ers. The Lions were there for the taking for the 49ers today, and it wasn't even close. I don't care about the scoreline. It wasn't even close.
Okay.
They lost in
we've-
key moments. One thing to say for the 49ers, though, one amazing stat. In the last 20 years, the 49ers have either missed the playoffs or got to the NFC Championship game. No other option
It's not
exists.
the Giants.
Yeah,
Like, win
that's
the Super
it.
Bowl, and they don't win the
Nothing
playoff game.
else. Yeah. Or it's like the Browns. Either they miss the playoffs or they get stuffed in the first round of the playoffs. It tends to be what it is, right?
No, don't say that. We've got one more game to do, and that is the Seahawks at the Bears. What a game!
Thanks very much for listening, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bears went punt, 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 field goal, punt, 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 interception, while the Seahawks went field goal, punt, 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 field goal, punt, fumble, punt, punt, end the game. What a game it was. Final score was the Seahawks 6, Bears 3.
Horrific. Absolutely horrific. This was
Hey, you won.
just dreadful. Yeah, well, you were giving me grief for that.
It was
When I pointed that.
horrific.
I
Win's a
mean,
win.
it was horrific. And at the time, I was over the moon because we still had a chance, and then the Cards didn't do us a favor.
No.
I mean, Jesus Christ, it was painful. There was just how have we not put up a touchdown? How have we not got a touchdown on the Bears?
I don't
And
know.
also, how have we allowed the Bears to stay within 3?
When you score 6,
I'd like to
You're not
give
very far
credit
away.
to I'd like to give credit to the defense, but I can't because it's against the Bears, and the Bears' offense is just stuttering. And
you sacked him 7 times, and you got the pick at the end with Reek Woolen. When he
Yeah,
took a
but
deep
it-
shot to DJ Moore.
but it's the Bears, isn't it?
It's
If
the
I said
Bears.
to you, Finn, before the game, do you know what? You're going to sack their quarterback 7 times and you're going to get double the score that they are. You're going to be like, yes, this is going to be a good night.
I'd have been over the moon. I mean, I can't wait for this. Had I known it would be 6-3, which I've very conveniently been pointing out many a times that we've done it twice to Chicago this season already.
Yeah, in sports, you've won 6-3 against the Chicago, yeah.
I mean, it was absolutely horrific. I don't know what the offense was doing. I don't know what Gino was doing. I don't know what Ryan Grubb's doing. I know it's his first year as OC, but Jesus, sort it out.
Yeah.
Horrific.
Well, let's put Finn out of his misery by saying that's the end of the review of
Oh,
week
thanks.
17.
Just brought back all the positive memories.
Now, we would usually go into Punk's power plays, but obviously Punk's not here. He's not feeling great. So, Dave, you're going to bring back something you did a few weeks ago to cover Punk.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be as good as it was a couple of weeks ago. There's a couple of zingers in
We'll
last
let you know.
week. So this is the good, the bad, and the ridiculous. So first of all, the good. And we start with an NFL all-time record. So this week saw the 5th game of the season where the Lions of Detroit scored over 40 points in a game with 0 turnovers. No other team has done that before.
Ooh.
Helps with the extra game, obviously. But yeah, well done to the Lions because that is immense to constantly do that.
Mhm.
Now the bad. Aaron Rodgers. So he got flagged for a late hit on a Buffalo corner, Christian Benford.
Yes, on the pick.
Now, this is the first time I can remember. Yeah, it was on a pick as well. We should actually remark that. This is the first time I can remember a quarterback being flagged for a late hit on a defensive back. And even the referee was laughing when he was reading the penalty aloud. It's genuinely brilliant. So our maiden ridiculous entry. So after we saw a duck land on the field at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, running back Bucky Irvine said after the game that he hated ducks and that they're, quote, weird. Now, seemingly forgetting that he used to play for the Oregon Ducks in college. When the duck was interviewed later on, he said that Bucky Irvine was in fact the weird one, saying that he was quackers. There you go.
You had a go at my bridesmaid joke.
I know.
No,
Finn, adjudicate that.
that
is
is
awful.
awful.
Come on.
Oh, boys, you let me down, both of you.
I feel like I've let myself down a bit. So, Saquon Barkley, another good. Saquon Barkley passed 2 kilometers in rushing, becoming only the 9th person in history to do it. It's a shame the Eagles aren't letting him play this week as he only needs 100 more yards against the Giants as well, as mentioned previously. Another mention is, in terms of records, is Mike Evans, who now needs 85 yards next week against the Saints in order to get 1,000 yards for the season, and more importantly, 1,000 yards in each of his 11 seasons since he was drafted in 2014.
Hope he gets it.
Fingers crossed for Mike Evans.
Yeah.
So another bad. An honourable mention for Aaron Rodgers on
No.
third and one, who rolls out to the right, running slower than a prepubescent Forrest Gump, donning lead braces, pitches a flaccid layup to a wide open receiver, Kenny Yeboah, for what looked like it would have been a decent shout for a touchdown. Instead, Yeboah has to check back, and it was so chronically underthrown that it ends up laying on the floor. Not to deter Rodgers, he then stomps his feet like a 4-year-old at a sweet shop because he throws a pass that was so limp and impotent that a fistful of Viagra and 3 cans of Red Bull wouldn't have got it to his target. Awful.
Yeah, that was a bad throw. It was one of many.
One of seriously many. But in that circumstance, specifically to blame your receiver, so poor.
That's the real problem, isn't it? He doesn't know he's bad. He still thinks he's
just watch
Aaron
some
Rodgers.
tape. Just watch some tape.
He doesn't see it. I swear he doesn't see it. When you listen to the stuff that comes out of his documentary, he honestly believes that he's the same Aaron Rodgers he was 6 years ago.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So the ridiculous. The Seahawks versus the Bears. Now it's finished the same score as the recent Tottenham versus Liverpool game at 6-3. And in fact, this week was the most twisted week of football that we've seen in a while. So if you were to add up all of the offensive points for the Houston Texans, Cleveland Browns, Chicago Bears, Seattle Seahawks, sorry, Finn, New England Patriots, Dallas Cowboys, and Arizona Cardinals, all of those teams would have still been 8 points fewer than the New York Giants. That is pretty messed up. Well done, Drew Lock. All of those teams added together scored 8 points fewer than the New York Giants.
What, in this week?
In this week.
Right.
Utterly incredible. So, another bad moment. New York Jets. Not that I'm picking
Oh,
on
come
them.
on.
So it's them deciding to walk out onto the field to the song Gangsta's Paradise. Never has a song been less fitting to a team. The rumor is this week they're going to be walking out to Loser by Beck.
It's a boombox as well.
Yeah, it should be. So the second next ridiculous moment. So former Colorado Buffalo corner Akelio Weatherspoon caught an end zone interception after Kyler Murray bounced the ball off Trey McBride's helmet, the one on his head, not,
Yeah.
you know. Anyway, for all the world, it looked like the ball was going to drop safely into the end zone, but it ended up being a cheap interception. Not for the first time you'll hear the word cheap and Weatherspoon in the same sentence. So the next good.
All right, you reached a little bit, but okay, we'll let you have that one.
That's good. Baker Mayfield was playing against the team that benched and released him in 2022 and was clutch enough to complete all 12 of his passes against the blitz for 90 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's the most since Patrick Mahomes did it in week 1 of the 2022 season, which I think was against the Arizona Cardinals. So
I'll take you over it.
I was going to make a joke
Okay,
about Baker's rising to the top, but I'm going to opt against
Thank
that
you
one.
for not doing
Yeah,
that.
please avoid that one. That'd be great.
So, as mentioned earlier in the podcast, former third-round receiver Jake Moody managed to miss 2 field goals and an extra point in the 49ers loss to Detroit, winning him the NFL's Darwin Núñez Award for excellence in front of goal. So we've also checked the thesaurus for synonyms for the word moody, and the options are unpredictable, changeable, and dismal. 3 things that you really don't want in a kicker. Finally, former Pittsburgh Steelers first-round selection Kenny Pickett managed to resemble a discus thrower when he seemingly changed his mind about throwing the ball halfway through his motion and gunned it into the ground while doing a forward tuck and roll that belonged in a year 8 PE class. Well done, him.
It's proper Will Levis-esque, wasn't it? It was like, what on
little bit.
earth was that?
So that
Never
was
seen that before.
That was your good, bad, and ridiculous picks for week 17. If you've got any concerns, contact Ofcom on 0207 981 3040.
Thank you very much, Dave. I've got it saved in my phone anyway, so I know about that. Right, so there we go.
It's my speed dial.
That is the review done. Managed to survive it with the throat going. But yeah, we'll be back very shortly with the picks for week 18, the all-important picks for this weekend's games, when there's still stuff on the line for at least some of the teams.
I'm behind in that one, so I'm going to have to go a bit rogue in the next
You
episode.
come for broke.
I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to do some I'm not proud of, sorry.
Wouldn't be the first
At
time.
least a forewarning.
Yeah.
And make sure you're checking us out on social media. And of course, patreon.com/finaldown. Sign up there for free to get notifications of all of our drops. Give us a little bit of money, and that makes us feel a lot better as well. It's New Year. You can afford it. It's very cheap. Just put some money in there for us as well. But yeah, at the very least, sign up and get your friends to do the same as well. If we need the members. So until next week, though, boys. I've been Jim. That's been Finn. That's been Number Dave. Thank you very much for listening.